Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? As usual, hit that live button, Cindy. Oh my goodness, I could preoccupy myself to the end of the day if I would let myself. Part of a conversation that I had with one of the ladies that I work with. Very grateful that I have people that I can have these kind of conversations with. Not all people who are making this kind of movement do, right? Lots of people, they just kind of, right? Like bumper cars from one wall to the next, one person to the next. And it can be a bit of a roller coaster. And if you know me, I am not a big fan of roller coasters. Hi, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and we've been picking powerful words each week and running with them throughout the entire week, looking at it in different perspectives, different experiences, different lessons. And I'm kind of just bringing it to the table. And, I found in that process, because 54 words for a whole week, each word, that's over a year. And this word that we got this week has been a doozy for me, but an amazing one too. It's been a total eye opener, but at the same time, not an eye opener, because these are lessons that I've had. These are big lessons that I've had. And, sometimes, lots of times, we don't absorb them in the moment just because, again, we're so preoccupied. I could preoccupy myself to the end of the day, like I said, right? And never get it done, never get it absorbed, right? Never get things accomplished. And then at the end of the day and at the end of our lives, right? What can we look back on? What can we, right? And we will look back on, because we'll look at those missed opportunities. We'll look at those opportunities. We'll look at the miracles in our lives that kind of rub with the reality of it all, right? We get to have recognitions of those magnificent parts of us. And then some of those parts of us that you might not think are magnificent, but it's only in your perspective. It's only in my perspective. And I do not want to be that person who, right, takes from Peter to pay Paul, right? To take from myself, right? Just to downplay my contribution as Cindy, right? Recognizing Cindy is just as important. None of this would be happening without Cindy. And a lot of people, I think they forget that. So in this word that we got this week, synthesis, which means bringing different parts together to make a whole, I would kind of actually just look at that. The sum of all parts of my life, right? Not calling it the end. It's not a review. It's right, right. It's not, but it is those memories. I've been on this earth long enough to accumulate all kinds of memories: sad ones, happy ones, thrilling ones, exciting ones, adventurous ones, contemplative ones, right? I could go on and on and on, but those are all experiences that, right, in the small scale, right, combined, make up the whole. And the whole is my life, right? The whole is my life. And, to wake up to that reality when I was already woken up to that reality, I got those lessons, right? But it's in taking in the seriousness of those lessons. And that's what this word this week has done for me in synthesis, not denying all those parts of me, right? And I even I'm saying that in denying those parts of me that when and if they should surface, that, that I would be able to accept them, right? That I won't reject myself, that right? That mitochondria is going to work for me, right? Just like without taking that medicine that helps us in our healing when we get a transplant in reality, right? That we have to take medicines for our entire lives sometimes just so that we don't reject ourselves. But I do believe it's inside of us, inside that mitochondria that is evolving, right? And humans think we got to get there yesterday. And that mitochondria is evolving and will continue to evolve, I'm sure, for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. That's my optimism, though, right? Because a lot of it is in the reality of it all. And we're getting great big doses. We're getting great big doses of reality in, I would have to say, decades and decades. And again, just like, sometimes I had those lessons, right? We as a planet have had those lessons. And sometimes it's just in one lesson that it just goes click. And the next thing you know, we're on maybe a new path, maybe the same path, but a better path with better choices, right? Maybe in a bigger and grander understanding where there's, right, more of a majority in some of these ideas that, right, have to hit us upside the head hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times, if not for generations or thousands of years, lifetimes, just right? That it's going to still. But we're at this stage, right, of innovation. We're in this stage of documenting, right? And throwing it out to Google because he's going to keep track of this, right? It will keep track of this. And if right? Those parts of me pop up somewhere else, that a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance in better recognizing and maybe faster recognizing, right? Some of those adventures that I could have had and should have had and missed, right? But possibly do it in a way that some of those adventures and possibilities that I did have aren't lost. Because, a lot of those relationships and experiences I had, right, they were important. And they are, like in everything else in my life, in the small scales, that all those small parts, the adventures, conversations, those everything about this coming together as a whole, right? That me just showing up here every single day might be just the answer. And in doing that, maybe it won't serve me. Maybe I won't hit on that one that will just make it all clear. Maybe, right? It's possible because it is in our choices. And I've made some doozy choices in my life. And I've made some doozy choices in my life. But all of them led me to here, right? So I'm working with what I've got. And this lesson this week and in synthesis, I learned not to deny myself, not to deny those parts of me that I don't understand, right? But also to give that same consideration to others. And, in some conversations, right? I could have done better in those conversations, but sometimes you don't know what you're stepping into in those conversations. You don't, right? Like, you don't know how to start those conversations. So they happen just at the perfect time with that little piece of information. Just sometimes that perfect opening line. Sometimes it's just, how's the weather? Crazy weather, eh? And we're going back into winter now. It's cooled quite a lot. If you haven't popped into one of my lives, you might know that, or you do know now that I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and we have had a very strange and I think wonderful kind of winter so far, if you can call it a winter. But it's cooling off a little bit. We'll see how it goes for the rest of the week and if it's going to carry on or, right, it's already going into the middle of February. Oh my goodness, it's going to be spring soon. How exciting is that? You guys, I'm going to run off to work today. We ended this word week, you know, with this word synthesis, the all sums that make up each one of us, right? The good, the bad, right? We try to resolve some of those things that we get to learn that, right, in the majority, maybe they don't work in the reality, right? And maybe make some slight adjustments, right? Just to be, well, a little bit more tolerated, right? And that's all we can hope for sometimes. But we always strive for more, and it's in our choices how far we want to go. Something. Right? I am headstrong. I'm at word 27. We're going into word 28 next week. Halfway there. Oh my goodness. What's the next 6 or 7 months going to do for us, right? And yeah, I'm pig-headed, right? I'm not stopping. I'm keeping going. And now that I'm getting the feel for this a little bit, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable in the process and I'm kind of feeling it out and I'm getting a better feel for how it's possibly supposed to work for me. But nothing's a guarantee. We fly by our seat of our pants, we ride those waves, we whistle while we work until eventually something opens up. Everybody, have a great day, and we'll see each other tomorrow.